What's up, my crypto legends? In today's episode, I have a very special guest. He has got to be the biggest, if not one of the biggest, Bitcoin technical analyst of YouTube, and he is Carl from the moon. Carl, how are you doing today?
Hello, thank you so much for having me on the channel, Andy. I'm doing very well, and I'm excited to be on the channel. So let's get this going.
Thank you very much, man, for being on the channel. Anyway, you're feeling great, right?
Perfect.
Right. Thank you very much, man, for being on the channel. And I got a couple of questions for you, Carl. And one question is, where do you see the Bitcoin in the long term, the Bitcoin price in the long term? Where do you see it peaking from this cycle? And if it's going to be this year, next year, or just give me your opinion on where do you see it in this year and next year?
Yeah. So, I mean, Bitcoin is going up and down a lot in the short term. There's a lot of volatility. But when you zoom out, you can always see kind of the big picture. And when you zoom out, you can see that Bitcoin is in a fantastic uptrend. We've been in a bull trend in the past 12 years, ever since Bitcoin was created. On average, Bitcoin is up. Bitcoin is going up every single year. Obviously, we see these bear markets, but on average, if you look at the average price increase, we're seeing a massive increase every single year. Now, I believe that we are in the bull market now, and these bull markets, they tend to end with a bang. They tend to end with a big blow off top.
Yeah.
And the previous blow off top was $20,000. The one before that was like $1,000. And we've seen these things happen before. Now, I believe that the next big blow off top could be something like $200,000 or $300,000 per Bitcoin. And actually, I believe it's possible that Bitcoin might do something even crazier than that. I think Bitcoin could possibly go all the way up to like $600,000 to $700,000 in this bull cycle, because we're seeing something that hasn't happened before. We're seeing institutions jump in. We're seeing retail jumping in like in a much bigger way than before. We're seeing inflation like never before. And when banks print money like this creates a scenario where people are no longer buying Bitcoin because they want to buy Bitcoin. People are now starting to look into Bitcoin because they have to. They literally have to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's safe haven. Even Tesla, it's not like they want to buy Bitcoin. It's more like, hey, look at this. Central banks are printing money. What are we going to do with all this cash we have? Because it's going to get devalued. Let's buy some Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So it's more of a we have to do it rather than a speculation. So the more this changes, the more we're going to see this potential super cycle, or this potential like mega storm happening, like the perfect storm for Bitcoin. And I made an interview on my channel with Dan Held, where he's talking about these things as well. He's talking about this super cycle that can happen. He thinks that Bitcoin could go to $1 million before the end of this year. So, I mean, that's very bullish, but it's possible. It's definitely possible with everything that's happening right now. But I believe that before the year, easily $200,000-$300,000.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. I mean, because I think the price is following more the 2013, 2014 cycle, where it has these two peaks. It goes to one peak, and we're probably in that peak right now. And then as soon ETFs are approved and more institutions coming in, we might have another peak, and that might take the Bitcoin price to 500,000, 700,000. So it's pretty crazy. So yeah, we look. It looks like that we are performing more like the 2013 and 2015.
I agree.
Yeah. So
we've been going up so fast now. In the short term, we went up much faster than we kind of should do based on the stock to flow ratio and based on the pre-trend. So we have we have overshot the trend a little bit, which means that a correction could be coming. And exactly like you say, I think the previous bull cycle back in 2013 might be what we're seeing now, with like this double top kind of thing. So let's see if we get a big correction. I think it's possible that we might see a big correction before we reach these
do you think maybe
$30,000 levels?
Do you think maybe another leg up to $70,000 or something like that before we see an actual huge correction? Maybe like
I think it's very Yeah, very possible. And the correction we are going to see could be very, very big before we reach 100K or 200K.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because I think we need a like a really big shakeout, where everybody panics, because just been going parabolic for the last couple of months. Nobody was expecting a $20,000 Bitcoin in January, and we reached $42,000. So that was absolutely insane. I had a lot of people seeing on comments on your videos or any other videos. Bitcoin's not going to go to 20,000 this year. It won't be even in 2022. And then suddenly just going parabolic in January and going to 42,000. So yeah. Anyway, Carl, what about altcoins? I want to know if you have any favorite altcoin or project, or where do you see this altcoin that you like, if you have one, in the mid long term for this cycle, maybe for the next year?
Yeah, so I think that it's obvious that altcoins follow Bitcoin. And to predict altcoins, we have to first predict Bitcoin.
Yeah.
When Bitcoin goes bullish, altcoins go bullish. When Bitcoin goes bearish, altcoins go bearish. So if we see a big bear market, altcoins will crash.
Yeah.
And what we can see is that when Bitcoin goes bearish, altcoins go much more bearish than Bitcoin. So essentially, in a bear market, we can see that altcoins, they correct heavily against Bitcoin. So in a bear market, you want to sit on Bitcoin. And in a bull market, you want to sit on Bitcoin and hold exposure to altcoins, because altcoins give you you can increase your risk and also increase your potential reward, because altcoins, they tend to sometimes outperform Bitcoin. And then you can take these profits and pull them back into Bitcoin. That's what I'm always trying to do. And
Yeah.
personally, I hold like 10% of my portfolio in Ethereum, and I also have some of my portfolio in various different altcoins, everything varying from Cardano down to smaller cap DeFi coins.
Okay.
And this is to have exposure to the opportunity of getting these crazy gains like
Yeah.
10x, 100. Um, and um, yeah, so I think it makes sense to have exposure to altcoins, but not much more than maybe 20-30% of your portfolio. I think it's very important to hold most of your crypto in Bitcoin, definitely.
Bitcoin. Yeah.
Um, and if you want to go with the safer options, I would go for Ethereum, Cardano, Polkadot, the bigger ones, the bigger names, rather than the small caps. But then again, if you want bigger upside than the small caps, they obviously offer a bigger potential upside. But
Yeah.
then again, you have the risk. So it
Yeah.
all depends on your risk tolerance, I think.
Yeah, there's always some altcoins that you suddenly see them drop 80-90% in one day or 2 days. I've seen some altcoins suddenly just crash, or they've been hacked, or or some they're a bit fishy. Some of the guys of the project, might have transacted into fiat currency or something. Some very fishy movements. But anyway, also, what do you think? Do you think the Bitcoin price can be heavy manipulated? Or is this time different, just like some other stock market? They can be manipulated. Is Bitcoin, do you reckon it's not this easy to manipulate it because of the supply and the huge demand?
I think you can easily manipulate the Bitcoin price. That's for sure.
Okay.
Of course, you cannot manipulate Bitcoin. You cannot change Bitcoin. So that's true. You cannot
Yeah.
mess with the code of Bitcoin. It's just not possible. That's the whole point of Bitcoin, right? It's
Yeah.
immutable. You cannot affect it. You cannot hack it. You cannot change the supply. You cannot change anything. That's very cool. But the price of Bitcoin is very, very easily manipulable
Yeah.
because, of course, it's a small market. It's
Yeah.
much smaller than gold. It's only 10% of gold. And even gold, we know, is very manipulated because
Yeah. Yeah.
gold and silver are two very manipulated markets. So yeah, people probably manipulate Bitcoin on a daily basis. I mean, whether it's big banks or big whales.
Yeah.
I've heard stories of people that have tens of thousands of Bitcoin that they can
Wow.
go into the order and they can play with the market, and they can basically
Exactly. Move
they
the
can have
market.
fun with the Bitcoin price. They can do this. They can do it.
Yeah.
So I think it's naive to think that it's not possible to manipulate Bitcoin. but it's not something that I'm thinking about too much. I mean, you can
Yeah,
still make
exactly.
technical analysis, you can still
Yeah,
make money from Bitcoin, you can, uh, yeah, but yeah, people are manipulating Bitcoin, and
yeah.
even more so probably altcoins because they're even smaller and even easier to manipulate. I mean, you can
Oh,
literally go in with like a couple of Bitcoin with buying power, and you can manipulate these small caps,
I
and
know.
you can change the price. You can decide what price you want them to be at. So
Yeah.
yeah, this happens of course a lot, I think.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I see some famous YouTubers also like shilling an altcoin, which is okay, you know, it might be a decent project. And suddenly you see while they talking about this altcoin, after a day, you see that like the price of the altcoin go like 50% or 100% up just in 24 hours. So it's very, very strange to see this, you know, in markets,
Yeah,
because there's no way you could do this with a traditional stock market or
yeah.
any other stocks. Um, anyway, I got another question for you. Do you think in the long term, maybe it's less, there's less manipulation to Bitcoin because of the short supply? And once the market cap goes bigger, like to $10 trillion, $15 trillion, just because there's a short supply. And if the Bitcoin is so distributed worldwide, you know, there should be a point where the volatility goes down a lot, no?
Definitely. As the liquidity goes up, the
Yeah.
volatility will go down.
Hmm.
And when Bitcoin has the same market cap as gold, which is approximately 10 times that of Bitcoin right now,
Yeah.
then we will probably have approximately 10 times less volatility. So,
Mm.
I mean, you could probably say that. It doesn't have to be an exact science, but I think that the volatility will definitely go down as the price goes up and as the liquidity goes up. And
Hmm.
it will be harder to manipulate Bitcoin. It's just like taking a big rock,
Yeah,
and moving a big rock takes a lot of force. It's hard, but taking
exactly.
a small little rock, you can easily throw it around and bounce it
Yeah.
around easily, right? So um, the bigger the market cap, the harder to manipulate. So yeah, that's true. I believe that's true, and it's going to happen. Bitcoin is going to go to 15, 20, 30, 40, maybe even $100 trillion, and at that point it's going to be extremely hard to move the
Yeah,
price of Bitcoin.
exactly. Yeah. Because now, I mean, banks can actually buy loads of Bitcoin, you know, or even the Federal Reserve. What about if the Federal Reserve suddenly decides to try and buy all of the liquid Bitcoin that there is in the exchanges, which should be about 3 or 4 million, more or less, or in all the exchanges. Do you think
Yeah,
this is possible? Or
I think it's not really possible. I think
because the
no, I
price
don't
would
think
just
it's possible.
skyrocket. The price would just
Yeah, yeah.
go up, right?
Yeah, they can try, and maybe it's possible to buy them all, but the question is rather, what would the price of Bitcoin be when they are done buying all these Bitcoin?
Yeah.
And I would probably say, yeah, like $1 million or $5 million per Bitcoin, maybe even more,
Mm.
um, because because you, yeah, like people don't sell Bitcoin. Look at me,
Yeah.
I hold a bunch of Bitcoin. I'm not selling.
I
There's
know.
no way they can
Yeah.
buy my Bitcoin,
Yeah.
even if they pay me a premium of 10, 20, 30%. I don't care. Like, I want my Bitcoin. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
Like, I really, really cannot be bothered with selling my Bitcoin. And I think most hodlers, they feel
Mm.
the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it's possible. It's literally extremely hard. Even buying just a percent of the supply is going to be very, very hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is the mindset of a lot of people that get into the space, into the Bitcoin space. And the mindset is right there will always be a small percentage of Bitcoin that I will never sell, kind of thing. You know, I'm taking it to the grave.
Yeah,
So this is the mindset that a lot of people, it probably takes about a year or 2 years once you get into Bitcoin, because a lot of them are here for the short-term speculation. So they might think I'll buy it and then sell it. But once you're in it long enough, then you think there is a small percentage that I'm going to hold for about 10 or 20 years. Anyway, Carl, thank you very much for coming into the channel. And it has been an absolute pleasure for you to come into the channel. And I hope I can do another interview in the near future with you. So thank you very much.
definitely. Thank you so much for having me on the channel.
All right,
Have a
guys.
good day.